27 professional operatives planned the perfect mission. Not a single one was caught. Not a single one left behind DNA. Not a single one broke their cover legend. And all 27 were exposed. Because in 2010, the world changed, and their textbooks didn't. The maid knocked on the door of room 230 3 times. Standard protocol. First knock, wait 30 seconds. Second knock, wait a minute. Third knock, louder. No response. There was no do not disturb sign on the handle. It was 11 a.m., checkout and cleaning time. She called the floor supervisor. The supervisor called the front desk. The front desk called the room. The phone just rang and rang into the void. They called maintenance to bring the master keycard. The door opened, exactly until the security chain from the inside stopped it dead at 8 inches. The chain was engaged from within. Through the crack, they could see the corner of a neatly made bed and the motionless legs of a man wearing trousers. They called the police. When they breached the door, the room inside was in perfect order. Clothes folded, suitcase closed, AC set to a comfortable temperature, window locked. On the nightstand, a glass of water and the TV remote. On the bed lay a heavy-set man in his 50s, fully clothed, with an expression of absolute serenity on his face, as if he had just lain down to rest and never woke up. The responding physician pronounced him dead. Preliminary cause, heart failure. A wealthy tourist, high blood pressure, exhaustion. Dubai had seen this 100 times. The heat, the long flights, stressful business meetings, nothing out of the ordinary. The police were getting ready to close the file.
But the medical examiner worked methodically, the way professionals work when they aren't in a rush, because they know that rushing breeds mistakes. He examined the body inch by inch, and he found 2 things. First, a microscopic puncture mark on the thigh, barely visible, not from a medical procedure. The needle was too fine, the entry too clean. It's the kind of mark left by a specialized syringe you can't buy in any pharmacy in the world. Second, a micro scratch on the electronic door lock, fresh. The kind of scratch left by tools used to reprogram magnetic keycard readers, tools that also aren't sold in stores. 24 hours later, the Dubai police realized that what had happened in room 230 of the Al Bustan Rotana Hotel on January 19, 2010 was not what it seemed.
And they started rewinding the tape. Here is what you need to understand about Dubai in 2010. It was a city being built faster than it could comprehend itself. But there was one thing they built right from the very beginning, thoughtfully, methodically, with an unquestioned budget: the CCTV system. Over 300,000 cameras, airports, hotels, shopping malls, intersections, elevators, corridors, lobbies, high resolution, time-stamped, recording to servers with deep archiving capabilities. This wasn't a security system in the traditional sense. It was a time machine. It allowed you, after something had happened, to rewind time and watch everything that led up to it, minute by minute, camera by camera, person by person. Dubai's chief of police, Dahi Khalfan Tamim, gave one order: seize all the footage, all cameras, 48 hours before and after the death. The airport, the hotel, the malls, the roads, everything.
His staff looked at the sheer volume, thousands of hours of video from hundreds of camera angles. Khalfan said, "Start watching." To understand what they found, you have to understand what was happening in Dubai during those days, from the perspective of the people who came to the city with a singular purpose. 27 people. They didn't fly in together. That would have been too obvious. They arrived from different cities at staggered intervals over several hours. Paris, Frankfurt, Zurich, Rome, London. Different flights, different airlines, different names on their passports. The passports were Irish, British, Australian, German. All real names of real citizens from those countries. Except the actual owners of those passports had absolutely no idea that duplicate versions of their identities currently existed in the pockets of 27 strangers.
This is called passport cloning.
It is one of the most sophisticated tools in covert operations. It requires state-level resources. No criminal syndicate, no private contractor on Earth is capable of simultaneously cloning 27 active passports from 4 different sovereign nations. There is only a handful of organizations on the planet that can do that. Here is a specific scene, reconstructed frame by frame from the CCTV footage. Dubai International Airport, morning of January 18th. A man in glasses, a gray jacket, carrying a tennis racket case over his shoulder. He goes through passport control, smiles. The document is an Irish passport in the name of Kevin Daw. The real Kevin Daw is currently sitting in Dublin, completely unaware that someone just walked through international arrivals on the other side of the world using his identity.
40 minutes later, a different terminal. A woman, blonde, sunglasses, rolling a small suitcase, an Australian passport, looks exactly like a tourist on vacation. Not a single person in the airport pays her any attention. Over the next 8 hours, 25 more, one by one, in pairs, never more than that. Different terminals, different immigration desks, different cabs from the airport. Their cover legends were built strictly according to the Cold War playbook, the textbooks written when hotel security cameras were a rarity, not the norm. Tourists, businessmen, athletes, tennis, a neutral sport. A tennis racket case, a neutral accessory that raises 0 questions at any airport in the world. Wigs, fake mustaches, swapping jackets in mall restrooms. Burner phones, purchased in Austria through third parties. Communication routed through an encrypted switchboard. Every phone, one conversation, then disposed of. Remember that detail about the phones. It's going to come back later. And when it does, you'll understand exactly why flawless operational security in communications turned out to be their smoking gun. It was a classic covert op, executed by every rule of the analog intelligence era, beautifully orchestrated, meticulously planned, practically flawless in its logic. Practically. The target flew into Dubai on January 18th. He checked into the Al Bustan Rotana, a 5-star hotel, a standard choice for a man of his stature. The surveillance team was on him the second he landed. They knew his flight in advance. They knew the exact flight number. They knew the arrival time.
Think about that for a second. To know exactly when a specific target is flying on a specific flight to a specific city, you either need backdoor access to airline reservation systems, an inside agent at the departure airport, or a wiretap on the target's phone. Any one of those options requires a resource that belongs exclusively to a nation-state. Not a private company, not a terror cell, a state. On January 19th, the target went to a shopping mall. 4 operatives trailed him, 2 in front at a reasonable distance, 2 behind. All dressed differently, all carrying different accessories to create visual dissonance. Classic physical surveillance, multiple covers, rotating positions, minimal eye contact. While he was at the mall, a 4-man breach team went up to his hotel.
They knew the room number. One of them pulled out a specialized electronic tool, a small device that reads and reprograms the frequency of magnetic keycard locks. 40 seconds to 2 minutes, depending on the model. The lock at the Al Bustan Rotana clicked open. They went in, swept the room, verified the placement of the hallway cameras, confirming that the camera's angle didn't capture the door entirely. They walked back out. The hallway was empty again. They were wrong. The hallway camera did capture the door. Not entirely, but enough to see that people were entering the room while the guest was out. They had checked it visually, standing in the hallway and eyeballing the camera's lens. But the field of view of a CCTV camera isn't what the human eye perceives. The lens is wider. The field of view is broader than it looks.
That was their first mistake. They just didn't know it yet. The target returned to the hotel. The elevator, the hallway, the door, everything normal. 22 minutes. 22 minutes after he entered the room. 2 men stepped out into the hallway. The other 2 remained inside for a few more minutes. Then they exited as well. What happened during those 22 minutes is known only by the result. A man on a bed, a calm face, a puncture mark on the thigh, a poison that mimics the clinical pathology of a massive heart attack, leaving absolutely zero trace in a standard toxicology screen. That kind of poison exists in the arsenals of maybe a handful of intelligence agencies worldwide. The formula is highly classified. The door closed. The security chain was engaged from the inside, using a specialized tool designed to flip the latch from the outside. Another old-school espionage trick. Another detail executed flawlessly.
The first thing that caught their eye, several men in tennis gear who were near the target at the mall were showing up on airport footage at different times, wearing different clothes, but walking with the exact same gait. Because here is the one thing that no wig and no fake mustache can ever change: body mechanics. The way a man plants his foot, the way he holds his shoulders, the way he turns his head, how he shifts his weight when he walks. Intelligence agencies train operatives to alter their gait. It's part of tradecraft. But that training only works when you know you are being watched by a live human being. When you are walking through a shopping mall and nobody is looking at you, your body reverts to its natural mechanics, because physically maintaining an altered gait for hours on end is physiologically impossible. Muscles fatigue, attention drifts. A camera does not fatigue. A camera records everything. The analysts watched a man walk into a mall restroom wearing a blue jacket and walk out wearing a gray one. They watched the same man appear at a hotel check-in desk an hour later. They watched 4 men get into an elevator at the exact time the target was at the mall. A few days later, a massive schematic lay on Khalfan's desk. 27 people, routes, timestamps, high-resolution photographs, a complete chronological breakdown of the operation from the arrival of the first operative to the departure of the last. The perfect operation had been fully documented on video, from start to finish, every single step. But the most fascinating part wasn't the video. Remember the burner phones from Austria? Encrypted comms, every call routed through a switchboard, phones disposed of, numbers unregistered.
It seemed like the perfect dead end. But here is what the mission planners failed to account for. When a cell phone is turned on, even when it isn't making a call, it registers with the nearest cell towers. This isn't billing data. This is the technical handshake log of a device pinging a network, a passive signal. The phone tells the tower, "I am here." The tower logs, "Acknowledged." The analysts subpoenaed those logs. 27 phone numbers, pinging off towers near the airport, the mall, and the hotel during the operational window. 27 numbers with no visible connection to one another. Except that all 27 of them, each one at different times, placed a call to the exact same phone number. In Austria.
One switchboard, one command center, 27 strangers, arriving as tourists from different countries at different times on different passports, all dialed the exact same number in Vienna. It's as if 27 people all swore they didn't know each other, but all 27 of them had the exact same contact saved in their phone book. The network cracked wide open. Khalfan called a press conference, and what happened next was unprecedented in the history of counterintelligence. The Dubai police uploaded the video to the public internet, not to a classified intelligence sharing network, not to a secure Interpol database, to YouTube, for the entire world to see. CCTV footage, the hotel, the mall, the airport, the metro, edited into a cohesive chronological narrative, complete with the names from the passports, the routes, the high-res photos of their faces. 27 operatives, their faces, their aliases, their movements, their tradecraft exposed. Global media looped the footage for weeks.
Former intelligence officers gave live commentary on CNN and BBC, breaking down every operational detail. It turns out that wigs and fake mustaches, when viewed in 21st century high definition, look exactly like wigs and fake mustaches. Theatrical costumes, worn on a stage with thousands of cameras sitting in the audience. The UK, Australia, Ireland, and Germany summoned Israeli ambassadors. Diplomatic scandals erupted. Official protests were lodged. Britain expelled an Israeli diplomat. Australia froze certain intelligence sharing programs. No official explanations were ever provided. No agency ever claimed responsibility. But 27 faces were on the internet.
Forever. An undercover operative only exists as an operative until their face becomes public. After that, they are no longer an agent. They are just a person whose photograph is sitting in the facial recognition databases of dozens of national counterintelligence agencies. A person who can never walk through an airport again without triggering a secondary screening that takes way too long to remain covert. 27 operational careers destroyed by the security cameras of a Dubai hotel. Here is what is critical to understand. This isn't a story about one side being smarter than the other. The people who planned this operation were top-tier professionals. The lock reprogramming, the poison that mimics a heart attack, the tool for the door chain, 27 cloned passports from 4 different countries, coordinating 27 people in a foreign city without a single real-time operational failure. Not a single cop stopped any of them. Not a single security guard asked a question. Not a single alarm tripped.
Because the alarm system they were trained to beat no longer existed. A different system existed, and here is the difference. The old security paradigm was built on detection. Spot the suspicious person, stop them, check them. It required a live observer to be in the exact right place at the exact right time. The countermeasure against that is disguise. A wig, glasses, a new jacket. It worked perfectly for decades. The new paradigm was built on recording. Document everything, store everything, analyze it later, only when you have a reason to. It didn't require an observer during the event. It required an analyst after the event, and the analyst had all the time in the world. Disguise doesn't work against the second system. Because a camera doesn't get tired, it doesn't get distracted, and it records everything. The operatives had trained their entire lives to beat the first system. They collided with the second, and they didn't even realize it, because the second system doesn't stop you at the door. It lets you in, it records you, and it waits.
It is a trap that doesn't spring when you break in. It springs after you leave, when you've already flown home, when you think you got away with it. Millions of dollars, years of preparation, flawless tactical execution. 27 elite professionals. All of it annihilated by 300,000 cameras, installed by a city that was building itself too fast to worry about aesthetics, but methodically enough to worry about security. And by 3 people who just did their jobs well. The medical examiner, who found the puncture mark simply because it was his job to examine everything. The analyst, who noticed the identical body mechanics of men wearing different clothes. And Khalfan, who ordered the seizure of all the footage because he understood that in his city, the footage was actually worth seizing.
3 professionals versus 27 professionals. The difference lay entirely in understanding which century this battle was actually taking place in. And here is the paradox that rarely gets mentioned. Not a single one of the 27 operatives was arrested. Not one. They left Dubai before the body was even found, before the analysts started pulling the tape, before anyone had a single question to ask. Physically, they vanished. Successfully. Flawlessly. The operation was a total success. And simultaneously, a catastrophic failure. Because in a profession where anonymity is your only armor, publicity is a death sentence. Their faces are now permanently etched into the biometric databases of dozens of national intelligence agencies. Their tradecraft was publicly dissected to a degree that allows any mid-level analyst to understand exactly how they operated. Their communications architecture, the Austrian switchboard, the burner phones, the cell tower pings, was documented in enough detail to allow adversaries to develop countermeasures. Think about the sheer scale of the fallout.
Training a single covert operative for deep cover overseas deployment takes anywhere from 5 to 10 years. Languages, legend building, tradecraft, networks, psychological conditioning. It's an investment of millions of dollars per person. 27 operatives. Do the math. All of that, the years, the money, the effort of a colossal state apparatus, was wiped out in a matter of days by a handful of Dubai analysts scrubbing CCTV archives. The cost of a camera is a few $100s. The cost of an operative is several million. It is an asymmetry where defense is 1,000 times cheaper than offense. After Dubai, the rules of the game changed. Not publicly. Nobody officially admitted anything. But in classified manuals, in training protocols, in operational tradecraft, a quiet revolution took place. New rule number 1, do not use disguises. Do not draw attention with theatrical makeup. A wig captured in high definition is far worse than an exposed face, because a wig tells the algorithm, this person is hiding something. An exposed face is just another face among millions.
New rule number 2, do not coordinate a team through a single node. The Austrian switchboard that all 27 operatives called was a classic star topology, a network that completely collapses the moment the central hub is discovered. The new standard is decentralized mesh networks. Every agent only knows the links immediately adjacent to them, like terracells. The irony is that the world's elite intelligence agencies ended up learning from the very people they were hunting. New rule number 3, and this is the most critical. An operation must be planned so that even a total forensic reconstruction of routes yields zero proof of association between the operatives. But here is the real question. Is that even possible anymore? Is it possible in a world where every square foot of urban space is recorded to run a coordinated hit with 27 people so seamlessly that a frame-by-frame analysis of thousands of hours of video reveals absolutely zero links? The answer is probably not. And that changes the very nature of covert operations. Because if you can no longer be invisible, you have to be indistinguishable. You don't hide from the camera. You become just one more face out of the millions it logs every day. You don't create a void that an analyst will notice. You create noise. So much noise that your signal gets buried in it.
It is a different philosophy, a different school of thought. And the men and women who worked in Dubai in January 2010 were trained in the first school, the school of invisibility, which died on the exact day that cameras learned to record 24/7 and servers learned to store data forever. The security chain on the door of room 230, a tiny thing, a detail, an elegant old-school trick, flipping the latch from the outside with a special tool, creating the illusion that the occupant had locked himself in, a living man who just didn't want to open the door, who was resting, who shouldn't be disturbed. That detail was supposed to buy them time. It was supposed to delay the discovery of the body by hours, maybe even a full day, to give the operatives more time to evacuate, to give the poison more time to mimic a natural cause of death. And it worked. Almost. But almost isn't completely. The maid came on schedule. The chain delayed her by exactly 30 minutes, the time it took to call the police and get the door breached. Not a day.
And when the door was finally opened, the medical examiner was right there. Because a chain engaged from the inside, combined with the absence of a do not disturb sign, is an anomaly. An anomaly means calling a doctor. A doctor means an examination. An examination means finding the puncture mark on the thigh. A tiny detail that unraveled an empire. And now, the ultimate question, the one to which this story has no easy answer. 300,000 cameras in a single city were enough to reconstruct second by second the movements of 27 elite operatives who utilized every identity concealment tactic available in the espionage playbook. That was in 2010. 15 years have passed since then. Today, there are over 1 billion CCTV cameras actively operating around the world. In London alone, over 700,000. In Beijing, over 2 million. Facial recognition systems process imagery in real time, not after the event, during the event. Artificial intelligence flags behavioral anomalies without a human analyst ever looking at a screen. The phone in your pocket registers with cell towers every few seconds, even when you aren't using it.
In 2010, it took Kaofan days to piece the puzzle together. Today, it would take hours. In 5 years, it will take minutes, in real time. So what bothers you more? The fact that in 2010, this system managed to completely outplay one of the best intelligence agencies in the world? Or the fact that since then, the number of cameras has multiplied tenfold. They have become exponentially smarter. And they aren't just looking for spies in fake mustaches anymore. They are looking at everyone, equally, with the exact same meticulousness with which Kaofan's analysts rolled back the tape, minute by minute, camera by camera, face by face.